Hello world, Lisa Friedrichsen, your friend and computer science professor, here to share another short screencast about Web 110, our HTML and CSS class. And at this point in time, we are on Objective 7, Test and Troubleshoot HTML and CSS. And the explanation for that course objective is down here in Testing and Validation. So we're going to test and validate HTML, CSS, and employ popular browsers to test web pages. Now, if you're in my traditional class, we've been testing and validating HTML and CSS all along. I insist on it. Testing and validating your HTML and CSS will help you learn and fix your own problems. Validation is a wonderful tool, but let's go through it together in this short screencast. So if we have pages like I've been working with, and let's just look and see what that looks like, then you can validate them in a couple of different ways. The most important thing is to make sure you find the official validator. So you're going to want to be at the W3 Web Consortium website because that's the official validator. There are other validators that mimic this website, so be very careful with your URL that you're at the official validator, else you will not get great information back on your validation testing. So they provide 3 different methods for you to validate. You can validate by URI. That's how I validate your homework. When you submit a project in the class Dropbox, this is what you're going to submit to me. You're going to create your pages, you're going to publish them to the JCCC web server, and that server is going to create a URL for you. And it's that URL that I want you to submit to the Dropbox. And the reason why is that gives you practice publishing web pages, and you get to see how a web server changes a mere file into a URL that's available for anyone connected to the World Wide Internet. So this is how I will grade your projects. And so we can validate by URL, or URI is another phrase for that, and this is what we're looking for. We're looking for green, no errors or warnings to show. Another way to validate during your development process, though, is simply to copy and paste the code into the validator or upload the file. I'm sure you know how to upload a file because you know how to attach a file to an email. It's the same process. Or you can just copy and paste and Control-V, paste that code in, and let's see if we get any errors. And yes, I do have some errors. And this may not look easy to read, but it's not that bad once you get used to it. And a lot of these errors will clear up once you fix the first one. So I typically just start at the top and look at the line number. From line 48, element UL is not allowed as a child of UL. So from line 48, column 4, UL is not a child of UL. Okay, so line 48. I would simply go to line 48 and figure out what in the world I'm doing. And I think that my UL tag here is an open tag and should be a closed tag. And Notepad++ gives me that very nice color coding. When I click any tag, I should see this background. If I don't see the hot pink background, then I know that my tag has not been closed sufficiently. So that now matches with my opening UL tag, and I'm expanding and collapsing that section. So now I'm going to save my page, Control-A, Control-C to select all and copy it, and now Control-V, paste and check again. And I only have one issue now. I have a warning, article lacks a heading. So they want me to put an H2 through an H6 element inside my article. But that's just a warning, it's not an error. So that's what I want you to do before you submit all of your homework, because it will help you fix your code. The same thing is true of the CSS validator. Let's find the CSS validator. And again, you're going to want to be at the W3C service. And why it starts with jigsaw.w3.org, I cannot explain. I've always wanted to look that up. That's a very interesting URL. But it's got that interesting word in it, so you know your official CSS validator if that starts with jigsaw.w3.org. And again, I'm going to go ahead and do a direct input validation and go to my style sheet, Control-A, Control-C for copy, Control-V for paste and check it. And this is what I'm looking for. Congratulations, no error found. Green is good. So that's validation of your web pages, both HTML and CSS. You want to use the W3C validation service for both. All files, all the time. You do not want to be missing points in my class for not validating. The third part of that course objective talked about using the browser. If you right-click on the browser and go to Inspect, you will open up the inspector. It might open up on the right-hand side or it might be on the bottom. I prefer it to be on the bottom like this, but the Elements tab is where we're at in Web 110. There are many other tabs that will come into play in different classes in our web world. Console is super valuable for our JavaScript classes. The rest of these tabs become valuable in our advanced classes where we're working on high-performing web applications. But in Web 110, where it all starts, we're really just working on the Elements tab, which allows you to drill down and highlight any element on the page. I can either highlight that element down here in the inspector window, or I can click and select that element up here on the web page and find it in the code. So it helps you organize your code. The inspector is a wonderful tool because even if you don't properly indent your HTML, the inspector will always indent it perfectly. So you can use this on any web page and find out what's going on that web page from an HTML and CSS standpoint. When I click on an element, I can find the CSS over here on the side, and this is really fantastic. But when I refresh my page, the actual code refreshes. This is an excellent way to do some troubleshooting, to see on the fly how each rule is impacting that website. That's it for this objective number 7, HTML validator, the CSS validator, and the inspector. Both the Elements side and the Styles side are wonderful tools to help you learn and write really great code. Thank you.